becoming too PC.
So PC these days. It's annoying how uptight you are.
Yeah. Everything is too P-fucking-C. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, where does it end? Whose feelings of getting hurt? Seriously. Like, the other day, apparently, I can't say ghetto. Oh, wait, whoa, you can't say that. Why not? Well, because it's demeaning to African Americans. I'm like, seriously? So, okay, I can't say the N-word, even though I say it all the time. Nigger me sideways. Nigger me to the moon and back. Can't say that? Well, okay, I can't say ghetto. Can I say hobo? Well, apparently not. I can't say gay or faggot. I mean, seriously. I mean, I get it. Faggot is a strong word. But gay means happy, and gay also means homosexual. Oh my god, that's so gay. Yes, it's a little foo-foo. That's exactly what I want it to mean. Because guess what? People who usually are gay are usually foo-foo. 95% of the time. There's only one gay guy I've met in my entire history that he was a former coworker. I did not know he was gay. He was straighter than I was. I mean, and I get confused for being gay just because of my mannerisms and the way I talk and, the way I walk, apparently. Like, people think I'm gay when I'm not. And this guy, everybody thought he was straight, but he was actually gay. The only person I knew of that was not foo-foo. And I mean, that's a whole... I mean, I'll get into that maybe at a later podcast, but I don't think it's, something you're born with. I think it's a choice. It has to do with sexual orientation, has to do with upbringing, but we'll get into that later podcast. Basically, my point right now is this world is too PC. If I want to say cunt, I should be able to say cunt. If I want to say this is gay, I should be able to say this is gay. Like, it's just, where does it end? Seriously. I mean, the other day I was talking about how I feel like it's weird how deaf people and people who sign drive. And the person I was talking to was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, their insurance should be higher. And they looked all confused. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, they're Americans just like everybody else. I'm like, well, I get that. But I mean, if I am driving down the road and I hear something weird, like, let's say a truck blows a tire, I can hear that and see it and react accordingly from a distance. If I am deaf, I can't hear it. So unless I'm paying attention and see it, then I'm fucked. And it's more of a liability. Or is it not? Like, am I just the only one that thinks that way? Like, and I mean, why is their insurance not higher? I mean, why are they even allowed to drive? Like, if I am deaf, how do I drive? Like, I don't get that. Like, is there, something that lets me drive better or equally as good as, people who can hear? Because it just, I would have to be able to look everywhere, basically, to be able to drive the way that everybody else would drive. Like, it's like my family. Most of my family wear glasses. I'm the only one that's not blind in this family. And you have to have a certain, certain eyesight to be able to drive and look at road signs and stuff. I mean, if you're legally blind, they don't let you drive unless you have glasses on. I mean, it's just, why is that any different? Like, if I was handicapped and permanently, stuck to a wheelchair, the car would have to have specific ingenuity to allow me to be able to drive. I mean, it's just, how is that a hard concept to understand? Oh, you're being, discriminatory against, ASL people. I mean, really? No, it's just something I noticed. And I've also noticed that most people who are deaf and most people who do ASL are entitled divas. I mean, and they're a-holes. Like, man, there's a caseworker I constantly have to work with and is a jackass. I mean, seriously, why? I mean, what happens? Sure, I mean, maybe you can't hear, but, I mean, do you have to be that much of a jackass to everybody else? I mean, I'm a jackass to people, and rightfully so, because I get mistreated, I get insulted, I get called stupid, I mean, and just the nonsense I put up with. I mean, and, I'm proud of being an asshole. I'm proud of being a jerk, because guess what? I used to be nicer, and it didn't get me much. So now, at least, I get stuff I want. But that's one of the things. Like I should be able to talk to whoever I want about whatever I want without any restrictions. I mean, the First Amendment says freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. Yet apparently there's some restrictions to the First Amendment. Oh, you can't, insult minorities, or you can't say certain things in certain contexts. I mean, well then, why is it the First Amendment? Why not change it? It's like everybody's bitching about gun control, but yet nobody's willing to change the Second Amendment. A right to bear arms. I mean, that was back in the 1800s where everybody carried a gun. Now everybody keeps shooting each other, and we're refusing to change the Second Amendment, or at least tweak it. Jesus Christ! I mean, shouldn't the president have the right to do that? I mean, after all, yeah, it's checks and balances, but it gets to a certain point where somebody should be able to put their foot down and say, "Hey, well, you know what? Right to bear arms. Sorry, if you're mentally retarded, you shouldn't be able to carry a shotgun and just walk around and start shooting people." I mean, background checks. Duh. I mean, there's stuff I can't do because of, traffic offenses I've done in the past. I mean, there's restrictions I have. Kind of like if anybody gets 12 points on their license gets suspended, and they have driving restrictions. I mean, how is that okay? But, it says right to bear arms, so everybody has to have a gun. No. I mean, Jesus Christ, change that shit. I mean, adapt with times. It's a new world. It's, we're more technologically savvy, but we should not be getting dumber. I mean, it's just, and speaking of which, this brings me to another point. Like all these government-driven associations that basically are wasting my local tax money. Children's Services, Buckeye Ranch, PFSN, child support, Head Start programs. Heaven forbid that, somebody who just moved here from Guatemala doesn't speak the language. I mean, I moved from Mexico and I had no programs that taught me English. I learned English at school, and you get good at it. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, I should not have to basically finance a program through my local taxes to help people have somebody basically come to their house to help them learn the language. Like, okay, so cool. Oh, this kid, he needs to go to Head Start because, he's having issues with, shapes and stuff, and, he might need to go into early Head Start. I'm like, he just doesn't speak English. If you taught him English, I'm sure he would know what the language is and what the shapes are. He knows them in Spanish, but then half the time they don't know how to read and write because the parents don't know how to read and write. I mean, it's just, you're basically taking my money and wasting it. Same thing with Children's Services. The neighbor complained that, you spanked your kid or you threw a chair at him. Let me call Children's Services. Really? I got smacked upside the head with a belt. I got hit with a shoe. I got literally everything tossed my way. Tables, chairs. I mean, really? We're gonna have issues. The neighbors are gonna call and complain. I mean, what are you gonna do? Give them a verbal lashing and that's it? No, that's not how you learn. That's not how you correct bad behavior. I mean, shit. It's to the point where I may move to Mexico until my kids are 18 and then come back, because Jesus Lord, heaven forbid we try to discipline our children. Oh Lord, oh Almighty. Well, yeah, it's definitely problematic, at least in this country. I mean, I'm sure other countries have other issues, but I mean, I'm just talking here from what I see and what I experience every day, and like I said, it's not looking bright. I mean, take the elections. I mean, there's a reason Trump is, doing what he's doing. I mean, Bernie Sanders had a decent platform and some good points, but I mean, they were never going to let him, win. I mean, it's just basically everything's, greed. Everything's driven by money and who can help finance who and who can make, everybody else rich. I mean, the poor people are suffering, the middle class is suffering, and the rich people are just getting richer. Woo-hoo, whoop-de-doo. I mean, it's never going to change. I mean, I have debt. I pay my taxes. I mean, and I still live better than most people in other countries. I mean, we take a lot of things for granted. We complain about the weather, we complain about politics, we complain about a lot of things. And hey, this podcast would not be created if I did not want to bitch and complain about things that piss me off. But at the end of the day, I mean, I want to live here in the U.S. I want to live here in Ohio. I want to do what I want to do. I mean, hey, it's the freedoms that we're allowed to here in this country. I mean, hey, apparently football players are allowed to not stand up and salute the flag during the national anthem. Guess what? If you did it in Korea, you would kind of have to. So, I mean, it's the way this country's built. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I should put up with nonsense. I mean, oh Lord, it's just hard to go day to day with the amount of bullshit and stupidity I deal with. Like, wise up, people. Like, use common sense. Like, oh my Lord, it's not that hard to, not use your GPS to go everywhere. Like, you should be able to know where north, south, east, west is. Like, today I had to go pick up a package for my boss, and I drove all the way to Powell, and coming from Bethel and Sawmill, I know I have to head north. So hey, Matt was telling me to take Sawmill. I'm like, that Sawmill has lights everywhere. Let me just take Riverside. Took Riverside all the way up past the zoo, cut across Rutherford Road, and guess what? I got there faster than what the GPS said it would take me, because I used my head. Oh, and these days kids do not. It's sad. It's sad, actually. It's sad. And like I said, I see it every day, and then I see my little brother playing in his band, and has this whole gimmick set up in the basement. And well, I mean, it could be the weed. Don't get me started on that. That'll be another podcast. Weed smoking. Oh, I do not see the point in that. I mean, yeah, probably has medical purposes and kills less people than alcohol, but still, I mean, if it weren't for weed, this my little brother would not be doing what he's doing right now. I mean, turned into a full-blown hippie, playing in his band. I mean, dropped out of college. The only one in the family who did not finish his bachelor's degree, and he was supposed to be an architect. And it's just the way things are. And he's the little one of the family, and my parents love him. I mean, I'd say he's the preferred of the family. The only person I know that tells his parents, "Hey, I smoke weed and I drop out of school," and yet he's 100%, got the backing of my parents. Like, I mean, I don't know what he did and how he pulled that off, but I mean, seriously, I don't understand how you drop out of college with 2 classes left and decide to, hey, let's start a band and play in random gigs in small bars around Ohio, and then have the audacity to ask for charity money to help get a car so they can or get a van so they can drive to place with all their equipment. Like, dude, seriously, I didn't ask for charity when I had to run 30 marathons in a year. I mean, seriously, I was like, oh yeah, help me finance my 30 marathons. I mean, there's a difference between running a race through charity and have to raise money for that specific charity, and just basically saying, hey, hand me money so I can have something to eat while I drive to do 30 marathons. Because guess what? There was a bunch of races that I couldn't do because guess what? I didn't have the money. So I had to plan alternate races. Same thing. I mean, if you don't have the money to afford a van, get a job. Pay for your van yourself and then go and play in all these gigs. Seriously. I mean, having to live in somebody's basement because you can barely afford a living. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, hey, it's the U.S. You're allowed to pull this nonsense here. But yeah, basically, the educational system here, and wrap it back up, tie it back around to the education and how we learn here in this country. Yeah, it's a bummer. That's how things are. I mean, if you take, and like I said, my tax money's being spent willy-nilly for nonsense. I mean, I'm pulling up the stats here just to give you an idea. Apparently 25% of state taxes go to K-12 education. And okay, so good to know. So let's see.